Hey guys, I wanted to do my geometry lesson with you guys because we're gonna change from time to doing geometry with shapes. And this is a great hands-on thing. So I may have y'all do several things at your house because there's shapes everywhere. They're all over the place. So it's just cool to find those different shapes where you live and things that you see every day. But I just want to go over some quick things that you'll hear or see through your work or in the videos that I have you watch. So I'm showing you right now an anchor chart of polygons. Polygon is any shape that we have except circles, ovals, those kinds of things are not polygons, and they have to be closed, meaning the shape can't be open anywhere. So think of it like a little fence or a little gate where it's not open. And so if you look, it also says they're flat two-dimensional shapes. You have 2D shapes and you have 3D shapes. 2D shapes are the flat ones. So we're going to go over some of those first. So a polygon, all sides are straight. They cannot be curved whatsoever. And down here it says no curves. You also have closed shapes. Remember, it's like a fence. It's not open. And then no intersecting lines. They can't intersect like this. I'm trying to show you on the video, sorry. They can't cross paths at all. They just touch at the corners, which we'll talk about in a second too. So some things to remember that I'll come back to. Each of the beginning of shapes tells you how many sides it is. And I'm going to show you what a side is here in just a second. But the word tri for triangle means three, just like a tricycle. You have three wheels on the back. So that's why they call it that. Triplets are three sets of or three kids that are identical. Then you have quad, which is going to be very important because that's one thing that you need to know for second grade. Quadrilaterals right here are shapes with four sides. And then you have penta, which is five. The Pentagon, the military building in DC, is five-sided. The building is five sides, and so that's why they call it the Pentagon. Then you've got the hexagon, which is also something that we'll need to know, and it's a six-sided shape. The other one that is my kids usually make the connection with is an octagon because you hear octo like octopus, and octopus has 8 legs and octagon has 8 sides. So very simple to remember these. Now, if you notice, these polygons, these are all polygons, but if you look, these polygons are inverted. They go inside, which is fine as long as they're not intersecting and they're closed. They're okay. So these are still polygons. So polygons are any shape with the exception of the circle. The circle is still a 2D shape, but it's not a polygon because it's a flat shape. So circles and ovals are not polygons. So you'll hear polygon a good bit. The other thing I want to show y'all is what I mean when I'm talking about sides. So this week, some of the work that you're going to have to do is going to talk about sides. I'm trying to get all this shape in, okay? And I'm going to talk about the shape here in just a second. The main thing you need to focus on is that these little balls up here are called a vertex. When you have more than one, this one has several, right? It's called the vertices. So the vertices are like the corners. In kindergarten or in first grade, you may have said corners, but in second grade and on up, you won't see corners on test or map testing, or it probably won't be used in your classes in third and fourth and fifth grade because they're going to use the word vertex or vertices. So you can repeat those to yourself. This is a vertex when it's just one, and then when you've got many, it's the vertices. Okay? So if I show you this shape, which I'm going to come back to in a minute, you've got the vertices right here. They're the little balls. And then you've got the sides, which are right here. The sides are what connects the vertex and the vertices together. Okay? So these are the sides, and this is the vertices. What I always tell my kids is that it's like the corner, okay? But you can remember vertice because it makes a little V where it meets, okay? So it makes the V right here where it meets at the vertex, okay? Just a little help to remember what that's called. The next thing I want to go over is the quadrilaterals right here. Quad, remember on this poster, quad meant four, okay? So quadruplets are four siblings that are identical. Your quad muscles, I'm assuming there's four of them. Whenever you hear the word quad, it's going to be four. So you have a number of shapes that are considered quadrilaterals. They have their own personal name, but they're also linked into this community of quadrilaterals too. So these are all four-sided shapes. The first one is the parallelogram. This is that green one right there, okay? Parallelogram. Then you've got the rhombus. This shape is in our pattern blocks, if you remember those. It's the blue ones. So you have the rhombus here, it's four sides. Rectangle, you've known that one most of your life. And then you've also got the square, which we're going to come back to in a little bit too. The square has the same length in their sides, okay? So they still have four. You've also got the kite shape with four sides. And down here, you've got the trapezoid, which is the red pattern block shape that we have in class. So you have, again, the trapezoid, the kite, square, the rectangle, rhombus, and parallelogram. Sorry, the parallelogram. Those are all quadrilaterals, so they all have four sides. They just may be different. These are slanted, some are parallel, some are not. These are parallel, which means they never, ever, ever, ever touch. They just run side by side. And a square, they're equal. They're four equal sides. This one, these are the same length, but these down here are not, which is fine. It's still a quadrilateral. So these are all quadrilaterals. So you can look back at this anytime you need it to be able to see what a quadrilateral is. Then, and I will try and save this and link it into your lesson plan so that you'll be able to always look back at it. The next thing I was going to go over. As second graders, you need to know, let me start off with the easy one, the triangle. You already know the triangle. If you look back at this poster, you can have triangles with the right angle, you can have an equilateral triangle, you can have different kinds of triangles. But this one, if you're looking at just my video, sorry, you have three sides, 1, 2, 3, because remember tri means three, and then you've got three vertices as well, okay? Three of those corners, but we're going to call them vertices, okay? The other shape that you need to know as a second grader is the hexagon. This is like doubling that triangle, okay? It's like trying to put two triangles in one, kind of, I guess. The hexagon is a six-sided shape, and mine's kind of 1, 2, 3 coming apart. And that's what I was worried about. I'm so sorry. I apologize. I'll show you some real life hexagons here in a second. It's just coming apart. Anyway, a hexagon has six sides, okay? So you've got the sides and you've got six vertices as well. The way I told my kids is when you spell six, it has the X in it, right? Hexagon has an X in it as well. And if you look right here, you've got the X for six, and you've got the number six. So that can help you to try and remember. And I'm sorry, my shape just fell apart. So in hexagons, a lot of people will say the stop sign. The stop sign is actually an octagon, not a hexagon. So here are some that you might see just out in everyday life. This is the bumblebee hives. are made out of little hexagons just repeated over and over again. They said that sometimes when you tie a tie or a picture of a tie, it'll be the hexagon. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Right here, you've got a nut or bolt. I don't know which one. Anyway, it is six-sided as well. Okay, so you can look at some of your dad's tools and maybe see a hexagon there. This, I had never noticed this before, but they were saying that a pencil is a hexagon too. I just had never noticed it. So take a look at maybe a pencil that you have at your house. I don't have one sitting here, or I'd look. Sometimes a spider web is six-sided. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So a hexagon is a six-sided shape. 6 has the X, and so does hexagon. Okay, just another little trick to remember that one. The last thing I wanted to talk about was our 3D shapes. So when you have a 3D shape, they have your faces. It's all the parts that you can like hit with your hand, kind of like your face. That's how I told my kids to remember it. It's the parts that you can smack and actually put your hand on. Okay, so the faces are up here and on the sides and on the bottoms. They're all around the surface of a solid shape. The solid shapes are the ones that you can also touch all the way around. They're 3D shapes. They're not flat. Okay, when you're 3D, you can look around it and see all the sides of it. So those are 3D shapes. So instead of what you call a side, remember on our, let me get my non-broken shape, on our 2D shapes, we call these sides, right? On 3D shapes, they change them to edges. They're pretty much the same things, okay? The edges are where the actual faces meet. So the edges are all the lines coming down, okay? And again, you have your vertices, which are the corners. My shapes are falling apart again. What is wrong with me today? It must be the rain. So you still have the vertices. Let me put mine back together because you need this one. You still have your vertices, still the orange ones, but this one has a ton. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it has 8 vertices, okay? Now, you have several different, I think I was going to show it to you on this one. You have different 3D shapes. You have a cube, which is going to be the important one for second grade, and we'll come back to that one in just a second. Cubes are anything like ice cubes, a present, blocks. You've got spheres, which is a ball. This one has 0 faces, 0 edges, and 0 vertices. But it is a sphere like a beach ball, a tennis ball, a soccer ball, a basketball, any kind, anything that is rounded. Then you've got the cone. The cone would be the flat surface right here. That's one face. Then you've got the vertex. It only has one, so you call it the vertex at the top. And it's curved all the way around like a ice cream cone. You could have an ice cream cone like that, or like a party hat. So you can think of that. And it has its little vertex right here with a little puffball. A pyramid. My kids always love making the pyramids out of these little shapes. If we get back to school, you'll definitely be able to play with these because they love them every year. And just building those shapes themselves. If you have marshmallows and toothpicks, you can do the same thing. It's a real easy thing, and your parents can maybe just let you play around with doing those. But you can make pyramids. You can make any of the 3D shapes with those. But this is a pyramid, like a tent that you might sleep in if you go camping, or the pyramids in Egypt. We've talked about those and we've found them on Google Earth before. So you could look at those and see the pyramids. They're just much bigger. And then you also have the rectangular prism. It's a rectangle all the way around, except for these 2 faces on the ends. So this is a rectangular prism, like a Kleenex box. These can also be blocks. Some of your Legos are like this. There's tons of rectangular prisms. Boxes galore from the grocery store. Then you have the cylinder. The cylinder is like a drum or a can of soup or a mellow yellow can. Any Coke can really. So these are all cylinders. They are rounded at the top and at the bottom, so they've got two faces, but the rest of it is curved. Now, if it's a curved area like the cone or the sphere or the cylinder, that's not considered a face because it has to be flat. Oh, and you can also have a triangular prism. That one we don't use quite as much. So let me go back to the cube. This is the one you've got to know for second grade is the cube. And this is the cube. I made one out of my little shapes. Okay. So what you've got to know about this is that every face, every single face is a square. Every single one. And it's got 6 faces. So you essentially have 6 squares. Then it's got 12 edges. The edges would be the blue sticks. And what I always tell my kids is keep it flat, keep it straight. And like you know that it's a square, so there's going to be 4 on the bottom, 4 at the top, so that would be 8. 4 plus 4 is 8. And then you've got to connect the top and the bottom. So you've got 1, 2, 3, and 4, which would make 8 plus 4 more would be your 12 edges. And then your vertices, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So cool way just to look at your 3D shapes. The cube is the one that you need to know. I may have you do some things with the rest of the 3D shapes just so you become familiar with them. But again, look for them around your house. I can see a ton just sitting in my living room right now that are just here that you don't realize are shapes that make the things that we look at each day. You can also, if you have any free time and you just want to play around with it, you can make these with the marshmallows and the toothpicks. So you're welcome to try that out too. Just get a bag of the mini ones. Those are the best ones to use. And the rounded toothpicks are the best ones to use. And you can just make your own 3D shapes. You can make all kinds of different ones, but they're fun. And we usually do that in class. So unfortunately, we won't get to. If we get back, maybe we can when we get back. But that might be something that you can try at home. Okay, so that's my math lesson on geometry. And just refer back to this, and I will try and save some of these things so that you can look back at them as well. Okay, and let me know if you have any questions. Okay, bye.